Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of the AutoConnect Juxtaposition. And Juxtaposition episodes are all about comparisons and contrasts, value for money, and making that ultimate decision. And taking you through this week's episodes of the Juxtaposition, I'll be your host, Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK. Remember, you can follow me at a personal level on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK is my handle. And we value your feedback. Tell us, what do you think about the juxtaposition episodes? Follow us on our social media handles, AutoConnect on Facebook and Instagram. Now, while we are at that, remember we offer services such as pre-purchase inspection, sourcing, and consultancy. You can reach out to us through the numbers in the description below. Luxury crossover SUVs, their demand in the global market is at an all-time high. And this is because they are versatile. You know, unlike the days when luxury sedans were the in thing, the luxury sedans were not necessarily very versatile because of ground clearance and also luggage space. But now, the global market trends have changed, and we have shifted from loving the luxury sedans to loving luxury crossover SUVs. And that is why today we have brought you two German luxury mid-size crossover SUVs that give you more or less the same, but the price is quite different. This week we decided to go to Carplicity and shop for two mid-size luxury SUVs that are appealing, and they are in high demand in the Kenyan market space. One of them is from Munich, Germany, is the BMW X5 X35D, and the competitor is none other than the Mercedes Benz GLE 350D. Now, one common thing about these two luxury crossover SUVs is that they are powered by diesel, they are German, and their power figures are almost the same. However, the price difference is quite staggering because the Mercedes-Benz GLE 350D is going for a whooping 8.5 million. Well, what about the BMW X5? Now, the X5 is retailing for 7 million Kenya shillings. So we have a 1.5 million Kenya shillings price difference between these two cars. And that is much of a difference when it comes to price. And on this episode of the juxtaposition, we want to find out whether there is any basis to that price difference. And I would like to start this juxtaposition episode with the BMW X5 X35D. Now, let's talk about this car. We start with the prima facie. Yes, it has the trademark BMW look. And I love BMWs because of their engines, their performance. In fact, BMW is known for having or giving sheer driving pleasure, whereas the Mercedes-Benz is defined by offering ultimate luxury. And that's why their tagline goes by the best or nothing. Well, with a BMW, the unique selling point for any BMW is performance and the driving experience. However, when you're buying a car that or a luxury crossover SUV, looks really matter. And now, with the first impression of the BMW X5, it's aggressive, it's sporty, and it has that BMW DNA from the grille to the headlights. And to one thing that I don't like about these BMW luxury mid-size crossover SUVs is the fog lights. You know, one design flaw about this car is that they placed the fog lights in a very awkward and a very funny spot on the bumper, and it makes the car look like. Have you ever been to the village and found those funny mongrels, the typical kienyeji mongrels that have their eyes positioned slightly higher on their skull? Those are the vibes that the BMW X5 gives. But generally, the BMW X5 has the looks to fit into different spaces, whether socio, executive, business, and even luxurious. Yeah, it has the money look. But let's dive deeper into the X5. And I told you that the unique selling point for BMW is in its engine. And I would like to pop up the hood of this X5 to see what we have there. Under the hood of the X5 is a diesel motor, and we try to bring the 350D and the X35D to bring out, you know, the diesel aspect, because diesel is becoming quite popular even with mid-size crossover SUVs and even luxury crossover SUVs and even sedans. Actually, we are seeing more of diesel crossovers in the Kenyan market space and even diesel sedans. So we are seeing more of diesels in the passenger space. You know, initially we had a lot of diesel in the commercial section, but now more than ever we have so much diesel in the, you know, passenger space. And what are the advantages of diesel? One is that it's lower in cost compared to petrol, but that is isolated to a few countries, because in some other countries you'll find that diesel is more expensive compared to petrol, but in Kenya diesel is a cheaper fuel. Secondly, with diesel you get a lot of torque, you get good torque figures, and that is why these diesel crossover SUVs are becoming quite popular. The other advantage is efficiency, because diesel engines are ideally more efficient compared to petrol engines. Now, what do we have on this under this BMW's hood? Now, this is the BMW 3-liter N57 straight six engine, and I want to focus on the straight six because that is the major difference in engine architecture between this X5 and that GLE. Well, BMW is known for building very good, very well balanced straight six engines. And what about the power figures? The power figures for this N57, you get around 255 horsepower and 560 Newton meters of torque. Now, power is transmitted to the wheels through an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. And it is not only transmitted to the rear wheel drive. This is a versatile crossover SUV, so you get all-wheel drive. And one thing about this X5 is that it can not only perform well on the road, but it can also perform very well off road. Yes, in fact, the performance of this X3 off-road and most of these mid-size luxury crossover SUVs, the Cayenne, the X5, the GLE, they are packing in some good off-road cred. Now, the only problem is that if you break something, it's quite expensive. Now, what else do we have in this BMW that is not on the Mercedes Benz? You see this blue lead over here? So this blue lead reads DEF. DEF is diesel exhaust fluid, or normally branded as AdBlue. So what does AdBlue do? Now, this, because of emissions, you know, diesel is basically a very dirty fuel. It emits a lot of soot or carbon and many other hazardous gases to the environment. So what the diesel exhaust fluid does, or the DEF or AdBlue, is that it is sprayed to the exhaust system to clean the exhaust gases. I want to explain that in very simple terms. So the X5 has AdBlue on the N57, so it's a relatively clean vehicle. And you'll notice that most of these diesel vehicles, these diesel luxury crossover SUVs, have DPFs, diesel particulate filters. That is why you will rarely see an X5 smoking at the back, giving you that black diesel, you know, smoke, because of the AdBlue or the DEF and also the DPF. Now, I will not, you know, close the hood of this car because I want to talk about something on this vehicle. But before we pop up the hood of the GLE 350D, I would like us to talk about the prima facie of this vehicle. Well, when it comes to looks, the GLE will appeal to many because the Mercedes Benz brand is known to offer ultimate luxury, and that is why their tagline goes by the best or nothing. Luxury is what this 3-point star that is engraved in a laurel wreath communicates. And not only luxury, these Benzes also look quite good. They are quite appealing. In fact, most people will agree that the GLE might look better compared to the X5. However, we say beauty is in the eyes of the beer holder. So some people, depending on how tipsy you are, may like the X5, and depending on how sober you are, you might like the GLE. Anyway, away from the looks. Now, this is not only the conventional GLE, it's a GLE Coupe or Coupe. Kulingana na venye una pronounce hiyo jina, but let's stick with Coupe. Now, let's talk about the nomenclature now. This is a C292. So it's a GLE 2, okay, sir. So it's a GLE 350D 292. Now, 292 is basically the chassis codes at Mercedes, and the C actually communicates that this is a coupe. It has a coupe design. Now, what about the GLE? It means it's a crossover SUV that is equivalent to an E-Class. Tuko pamoja, and that in the Mercedes Benz lineup of crossover SUVs, all the way from subcompact to full size, we have the GLA, we have the GLC, the GLE, and even the GLS. So it's a whole new lineup that also shows how demand for crossover SUV has grown in the global market. Gone are the days when you used to love luxury sedans. Now we are moving towards luxury crossover SUVs. So let's talk about what is under the hood of this vehicle, because there are quite a lot of similarities and differences as well if you compare it to the X5. Now, under the hood of the GLE 350D is a 3-liter. Ngoja aka kitu bana, kwa nini kanapoteanga? Sawa sawa, tuanze haya. Yes. Under the hood of this GLE 350D is a 3-liter OM642 diesel motor. Well, remember what we talked about the X5. The X5 has a straight 6 diesel engine. Now, the GLE has a V6 diesel engine. Are we together? So that is the first notable difference when it comes to the engine architecture between these two. Now, what is the OM642 known for? It has gone through quite some improvements and modifications, and it has a few variants, but let's stick to this one. The power figures on this GLE, it's going to churn out 1 horsepower less than the BMW X5. So it tops up at 254 horsepower, but when it comes to torque, it has 60 Newton meters more of torque compared to the X5, because with the X5 you're going to get 560, but with the GLE 350D you're going to get a whooping 620 Newton meters of torque. This is a car that you can use to probably tow a house, because that's good torque. It's more torque than a Toyota Hilux. So basically you're getting more torque than a pickup. Now, how is power transmitted to the wheels? Power is transmitted to all the 4 wheels, because again, it's a versatile mid-size crossover SUV that is styled like a coupe and can take you off-road. So it has to move all the 4 wheels. But how is power transmitted there? Power is transmitted there through a 9-speed automatic transmission. So now the GLE has 1 more gear above the X5, because the X5 is an 8-speed, this is a 9-speed, but both of them drive all the 4 wheels. Another notable difference is, remember, with the BMW X5 we have AdBlue or DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, but on the OM642 in the GLE 350D we do not have AdBlue. So if you're driving the X5, you'll have to top up AdBlue, but if you're driving the C292, you will not top up AdBlue. But they are all clean vehicles because they feature diesel particulate filters and other catalytic converters, EGR. So they are diesel vehicles, and diesel is dirty, but they'll still give you, no, they still adhere to, you know, the environmental consciousness and sustainability. Now, one thing is that where the GLE does really win is in matters torque, but when it comes to matters horsepower, the BMW wins by only one. Well, that should be quite an interesting dynamic when we get to how these vehicles behave on the road. Now, the other thing we have to talk about is the side profiles of these two vehicles, because before we can get to the interior. Now, the side profile starts with tire size and even how the body looks. Now, if you look at the GLE 350D, it sits on 21-inch wheels, and that enhances the side profile of this vehicle. The other thing is that it has a sloping roofline that resembles that of a sedan, and that is why it has some coupe styling. Now, one of the setbacks of this coupe styling is that there is minimum headroom for the guys who will sit at the back. Now, it also comes with adaptive coilover suspensions all round. And as we move to the BMW, that's the same suspension setup that you have. Remember, there is a difference between active and adaptive suspension. Now, active suspension means it can lift up and go down, and most active suspensions are actually air suspension. But for these ones, both cars have a coilover suspension setup that is active, meaning it can stiffen when the vehicle is in sport and it can soften when the vehicle is in comfort. But we have options that feature air suspensions for both, but the ones we have today from Carplicity feature coilover suspension, and they are pretty much sporty. Now, the BMW X5 does not have the coupe styling when you look at the side profile. Now, we got one that has the actual crossover SUV styling, and it sits on 19-inch wheels. So now the wheels are actually a bit smaller compared to the Mercedes Benz GLE 350. Now, the 350D, just to be specific. So the wheel size sometimes does affect how the vehicle looks like from the side, because bigger wheels make a vehicle look quite sporty. But if you look at the GLE 350D, it looks a bit puffed up. Yeah, so but the X5 on the other hand is quite sleek, and all these are, courtesy of the manufacturers trying to achieve aerodynamics. But the other thing you might note is that the curve of the GLE 350D is it's very smooth and slopey from the roof all the way to the bonnet and the front end. But the BMW X5 is not as slopey as that of, the GLE 350D. So it's a bit solid, but all of them do achieve quite impressive aerodynamics. Now, let's take a look at the interior of these two cars. Now, inside the BMW X5, all I can say is that it's quite roomy. It comes with a decent music system, and it's trademark BMW. In fact, if you've driven any other BMW, there is really nothing much of a difference to expect when it comes to the interior. You still have the same drive-by-wire shifter. You have 3 driving modes. You have a connected drive infotainment system that is not very complicated. And also, you have auto hold, and this comes in very handy when it comes to traffic. Now, when it comes to the interior ergonomics, you have a sunroof, you also have leather seats, and the most funny thing about this car is that it's a 7-seater. Yes, so in case you have a big family or you're hauling your friends, you have an extra 2 seats at the back. And when they are folded up, you have very little cargo space, but when they are folded, you have very good and actually decent cargo space. Well, BMWs are known for being driver centric, and that is what you get on the interior of the X5. It's actually quite driver centric with the doesn't have very many buttons. And when it comes to driving this car, you have a sport mode, you have an eco mode when you want to save fuel, and you also have comfort mode. Comfort mode is mostly when you're driving on the highway with your family. Sport is when you want to have fun with the car, and eco is when you're in town. Are we together on that? Now, this you also have a very intelligent cruise control that is adaptive as well. And the other thing is the seats are very comfortable. In fact, one other thing we must say about the BMW is that yes, it has a luxury feel, but it doesn't scream luxury. It screams more of well built, because it's very, very, very well built. When it comes to aspects of luxury, you have this fake wooden finish. Yes, it looks like wood anyway, inakaa mbao, but ni kama BMW walitupa mbao wakaweka wooden finish ya plastic. And you also get mood lighting, which is quite good. So it's very spacious. In fact, the unique selling point for the X5 is space and the driving thrill that you get on this vehicle, because the second row of seats and the third row of seats can give you more passengers. However, we do have a setback when it comes to the second row of seats, and this setback is for people who actually have families. Now, what am I talking about? If you have, or if you need to use a child seat on the X5, the isofix, latches are quite hidden. Yeah, so you're going to have a hard time trying to look for them. Yes, and I'll demonstrate the other third row of seats because, oh, and one thing, the X5 features soft locking doors, si kufunga mlango kama ni ya choo. Sawa sawa. So let's take a look at the luggage space and also the third row of seats on this X5. Now, the BMW X5 does look very good from behind, especially with the crossover styling. You know, the coupe styling has an off look, a weird look, but this one, the crossover SUV styling looks quite masculine. And it's not only masculine, by the way, it's also unisex. You know, the crossover, the SUV, the coupe styling looks really, really odd and very unconventional and quite, quite off. But to people who love fine style and fine fashion, them the coupe styling might really impress them. But to me, I find the SUV styling quite masculine, quite good looking, and it looks like a proper crossover SUV. Now, how do you access the cargo space in the X5? You access it through an electronic tailgate, and you have added convenience on the X5 because you have a split tailgate, and this part really makes it easy for you to slip in some luggage hapa ndani. Now, the other thing about this X5 is that it has a third row of seats that you can, pull upwards and retract when you want maximum cargo space. And this is where now the X5 wins hands down over the coupe, over the Mercedes Benz GLE 350D coupe. But we understand ile GLE ni mizigo tu, ni wallet na gazeti. Hata watu, most of them unawaacha sababu ya the sloping roofline. Now let's check out the interior of the GLE 350D. Inside the GLE 350D, it feels like a 212. Yes, it does feel like an E-Class. And if I would buy the GLE 350D, I would prefer the one with the MBUX infotainment system, because this one is quite small and it doesn't feel like 8.5 million Kenya shillings. Personal thought. But anyway, everything about it feels like an E-Class. Only that, okay, you still have 4 driving modes. You have snow, you have comfort, you have sport, and you have individual. Actually, the snow, it's not actually snow, it's more of slippery, and it tunes the vehicle's all-wheel drive system to try and give maximum traction to the wheels at grip and minimum traction to the wheels at spin. So that is where the all-wheel drive system is actually quite intelligent on this one, unlike on the BMW where we have Sport, we have Eco Pro, we have Comfort. Now this one has a little bit of intelligence when it comes to going off-road. And this is now, you remember that review we did of the Porsche Cayenne? Now the Porsche Cayenne beats these two hands down because both on-road and off-road, the intelligence is quite remarkable when it comes to, how it adapts to a change of terrain. Now back to the Mercedes Benz, the GLE 350 C292 feels a little bit cramped up, especially if you're coming from the BMW X5. The other thing is that the lowered roofline doesn't give you much headroom, and if you're a tall person, you might actually bang your head on the vehicle's roof if you're not careful. Now, it features a Harman Kardon sound system, which is quite impressive, but for the best or nothing ultimate luxury, I feel that we can actually get more on the GLE 350D. Yeah, it feels quite basic considering what you're getting on the X5 in terms of interior. Even the AC controls, they're also quite okay. You have a lot of buttons on both cars, but I must say the BMW will feel more premium compared to the Mercedes Benz. However, this GLE 350D has one advantage. It might not ferry, and the other thing, it's a Mercedes, the best or nothing, but it does not have soft locking doors. Yeah, so that's one of the areas where it does not win or it loses uh, against the BMW. The obvious advantage in the GLE 350D is on the second row of seats, but well, it's an advantage and a disadvantage. If you have a child, you have very well placed isofix latches, and that makes it easy to fix a child seat on the GLE 350D. However, the disadvantage is the sloping coupe styling, because if you're on the second row of seats, first, you don't have enough leg room. Secondly, you might end up banging your head on the roof of the GLE 350D. Well, there is no need of actually opening the boot because it's really not a practical car. It's not built for practicality. Tuko pamoja hadi hapo? So now, after going through these vehicles, let's talk about how do they sound. One, they don't sound nice because they are diesel. If they were petrol, they would sound really nice, but with diesels, they are not very, they do not sound very good. Yeah, whatever comes from the exhaust is not very, very exciting. Now, let's talk about value for money. Value for money is the most important segment of any juxtaposition episode. And if you buy these two cars from Carplicity, the X5 will set you back 7 million, while the GLE 350D will set you back a whooping 8.5 million Kenya shillings. That's a difference of around 1.5 million Kenya shillings, which is very, very significant. While both vehicles have very good power figures. Both of them are powered by diesel, 3-liter diesel engines to be specific. The difference being this one is a straight six and this is a V6. Now, when it comes to running costs of these vehicles, they are not cheap to run. That I must tell you guys, because these are luxury crossover SUVs. So if you're buying this car, you're not necessarily looking at the cost of maintaining them. Now, when it comes to value proposition, the BMW X5 offers more space compared to the GLE 350D for the price tag that this vehicle is being sold for. We can argue that the niche for the GLE 350D is quite different from the niche of the X5, because if you're buying the X5, you're looking for practicality, you're looking for an exciting driving feel, you're also looking for space. Now, if you're buying the GLE, you're buying more of a show car. So the niche is very different. This would be ideal for a family car. It would be ideal for a car to show up for in a business meeting. And again, it would also be ideal when you take it off road. Now, both of them drive all the four wheels, so they will handle properly off road. So they are equally good when it comes to both driving on road and driving off road. Now, the only disappointing thing about the 350D is that it does not offer as much luxury as the Mercedes Benz badge would do. In fact, I feel that it's for 8.5 million Kenya shillings, lacking the MBUX infotainment system and also lacking a better interior feel, really sets a disadvantage to the C292 GLE. Yeah, so for now, for a budget of 7 million, the BMW X5 does make quite a lot of sense to a person who is all round. So if you're looking for an all round vehicle, the X5 will make more sense compared to the GLE 350D. But if you're buying a show car, then the 350D will make more sense. However, I really wish we had a crossover SUV styled GLE. It would make more sense comparing it to the BMW X5, because definitely the target market will differ. But do tell us in the comments, which one would you go for? Which one has the obvious advantages? And by the way, the N57 engine, when it comes to reliability, most people make flatbed jokes when it comes to BMW. They are not as bad. Although we can say, when it comes to reliability, Mercedes-Benz has an obvious upper hand when we talk about matters not stripping by the roadside. Yeah, the Benzes have less problems. And I'm glad to have two trendy crossover SUVs that still have big, exciting engines, because as time goes by, we are losing the big engines. Imagine having 2-liter engines for like across the line. It's not a good thing for enthusiasts. But with these two crossover SUVs, we have a good old inline six and a good old 3-liter V6. But when it comes to driving, BMW does win because they are much more driver centric. So if you want a vehicle that is all round, gives you fun to drive, is a family vehicle, gives you good fuel economy because diesel is very efficient, and also can take you off road, has sufficient clearance and sufficient cargo space, can carry 7 people, well, the X5 makes a lot of sense. Tuko pamoja? So I hope this has been an insightful episode. Do talk to us. We value your feedback. AutoConnect on Facebook and Instagram, and also the comment section. Also, we can chat on the sidelines at a personal level. Eric Wakabi on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. And please remember, we offer services such as pre-purchase inspection, sourcing, and also consultancy on matters vehicles. So you can reach out to us on our AutoConnect official number 0710 844 863. And if you want to test drive any of these two cars, you can call David from Carplicity. His number is in the description below. So see you in the course of the week as we give you something more exciting.